Hello, it's the Big D, 2 o'clock here in state of Florida, and it's time to recap week 9 on the Driving to the Top Productions and the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Also, you can check out the Big D on Spotify and Apple. So, crazy, another crazy, wild week in the NFL. Upsets, injuries, disappointments. If you're in a guillotine league, you're either counting your blessings that you won or sweating, thinking I'm one Travis Kelce touchdown away from potentially being ousted tonight. But you know, luckily that's not an issue for me. I'm at like 180, 148 points. So good shape there. But before I tell you about everything week 9, we're 24 or so hours from election day, but we're 26 hours from the NFL trade deadline, and thought I'd go over a couple guys who might be available. I mean, if you look at the crappy teams, and we know who those crappy teams are. Fortunately, my Jags are one. We already traded Cam Robinson to Minnesota. But could other guys be available? I think Christian Kirk would have been one if he hadn't broken his collarbone last week. But then you look at Carolina, could the Panthers trade, J.C. Horn, Adam Thielen, New Orleans Saints, and I'll talk about the Saints firing their head coach Dennis Allen. But could the Saints trade a lot more the Giants? Potentially trading one of their pass rushers, maybe Darius Slayton, because New York's not going anywhere, especially with Daniel Jones under center. Um, I'm just suggesting this, but maybe the Dallas Cowboys should consider trading Micah Paulson because right now things are not going well in Big D. I mean, 3-5 and that poor fundamentals, poor execution against the Atlanta Falcons yesterday. Trust me, I will be discussing that game on the stream today. Oh, speaking of guillotine leagues, the biggest non-Travis Kelce fan I could think of tonight.
What's up, Dylan? Good to be here as always.
How much are you sweating on Monday Night Football between the Bucks and Chiefs?
Yeah, as you said, I've never been more against Travis Kelsey in my life. He can score 14.4 points, and good for him. But if he hits that 14.5, I'm gonna be very upset.
So you're hoping Travis Kelce doesn't hit the magic 15 like his significant other song tonight, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's gonna be close, man. I'm not feeling too good about it. I think I'm gonna be going down this week, but we'll see. I mean, it would be Kelsey's second highest. It would only be the second time he's hit that point all season. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm hoping.
well, Kelce hadn't scored a touchdown until last week, right?
Yeah, yeah. Scored 20 points even in our league last week, and his highest before that was 12.4. So somewhere, a little south of that 15 mark would be just fine for me.
And by the way, 50% chance of rain in Kansas City tonight.
Yeah.
And we saw what the rain did in Detroit.
Yeah, it's
In Detroit, Green Bay, excuse me. The Lions always play in a dome.
yeah, it could definitely affect things for sure. I'm a little worried about that Tampa pass defense. They're haven't been the strongest unit this season, and I think Xavier Worthy might be in for a big day. I'm hoping that they can lock down Travis Kelsey, but we sure see. We'll find out. Maybe it's Noah Gray season today. I don't know. We'll see.
Or Kareem Hunt season, right?
Yeah, yeah. Either one of them. Kareem Hunt can have a day. Noah Gray, Xavier Worthy. Heck, give me DeAndre Hopkins, but anyone but Travis. And honestly, I could see him going 6 catches, 65 yards. Just stay out of the end zone, Travis. Do me a solid.
Yeah, unlike you, I'm not sweating the guillotine league tonight because I think I'm at 148 points for the week.
Yeah, I think you 142. I'm looking at here.
142.
I think you pretty much locked up high points for the week. I'm looking through. Yeah, you've got it. It's not even close.
Only problem is my other than Saquon, my running backs didn't have great weeks.
Yeah, well, there's a chance you might be getting Devon Achane or your pick of Devon Achane, James Cook, James Conner, Trevor Hubbard. I'm loaded on running back. Christian McCaffrey should be back next week. Man, I hope I get through this week because Shanahan's saying McCaffrey will be should be able to play next week, and I might be able to make a deep run here if I can just stave away this Travis Kelce night.
Yeah, and Kenneth Walker's on bye next week, and then we both saw Chris Olave get knocked out of the game.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate for him. It's concussions have been a dangerous thing this season, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you know what else is seemingly injuries? I mean, literally in the last 15 minutes, news is broken that Dallas Cowboy quarterback Dak Prescott is going to miss time with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, I think they said at least multiple weeks. They're expecting him to be out. Obviously, it hasn't been the best season, in general for Cowboys fans. So this is just another knock to, an already unfortunate year. And it's going to be, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be a pretty sight, watching Dallas Cowboys football while Dak is out. It hasn't been that pretty as it is. So you can only imagine with Cooper Rush leading the offense.
And by the way, what were the Cowboys doing yesterday? At 10 men, 12 men? I mean, the fake punt was a disaster. CeeDee Lamb running what, a jet sweep on fourth down? I mean, the Cowboys just made dumb mistakes yesterday.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially going up against a good Atlanta Falcons team. You can't always beat your opponent, but you can't beat yourself. I mean, I've seen that happen with Miami time and time again. It happened with us yesterday. It's one thing to stay in a football game and have a chance to win, but there's nothing that costs football teams more than beating themselves, whether it's bad play calling or pre-snap penalties or even penalties. As we saw in Miami, the helmet to helmet hit by former Buffalo Bill Jordan Poyer pretty much gifted Buffalo that win. So I don't know what's going on in Dallas. It's just not pretty football on either side of the ball, really.
I mean, we know Mike McCarthy's going after this year, but to be honest with you, I think Jerry Jones is the biggest problem there because the Cowboys didn't spend any money in the offseason. I mean, if you look at Dallas's cap situation next year, they're going to have Dak Prescott right now counting $90 million against the cap. Wait, did I say 90? $90 million.
Yeah, it's. Whew, I would not want to be in charge of that financial situation. I'll tell you that much.
Maybe the Cowboys would have been better off not giving Dak the deal, but that's a story for another day. But
Exactly.
I mean, the Cowboys won double-digit games the last 3 years. Now the Cowboys are going to lose double-digit games. I mean, I said at the top, am I crazy? But should the Cowboys consider trading Micah Parsons?
Yeah, it's a move I don't think Jerry Jones is going to do. Now if Jerry Jones does move on, like you said, I mean, it seems to be he's kind of the core issue here. That's I don't see Jerry Jones giving up that football team, and unfortunately, I think for Cowboys fans, he is very stubborn in his ways, and I think he is going. I don't think a team could offer enough for what Jerry Jones has Michael Parsons' value at, and it could. I think it could be a very strong move for the Cowboys to do. I just don't see Jerry Jones kind of admitting defeat and admitting, it might be time for maybe not necessarily a full rebuild, but trading one of your most valuable assets and kind of, telling your fan base that we're going to have to kind of make some big changes around here to turn the tables around. I just don't see that coming from Jerry Jones. He seems to be more of a put a band-aid on a damn issue type of guy than to knock it down or rebuild it.
Oh boy, come on. I mean, we know the Cowboys paid Dak Prescott like he's Pat Mahomes. CeeDee Lamb, fun.
Yeah,
But Micah Parsons might not even be the best defensive player on his own team.
yeah.
You get to go and yet watch what the Cowboys do. They're paying like he's Lawrence Taylor.
And I mean, we've seen. I mean, obviously, we've seen flashes from Micah Parsons. He's a dominant factor on his day, but it's when you're paying that much money, and when you're kind of building your defensive nucleus around one guy, and you're not getting the results that you're looking for. Something has to change, and you really have to kind of take a look at it big picture, and really determine what moves are going to help your franchise in the future, because obviously they're sitting at 3-5. We're not, Dak Prescott's out for multiple weeks. We're not going to see the Cowboys have any sort of success this season. And at some point, especially with, I mean, the trade deadlines today, I doubt that they'll be making any moves, at least anything too significant. But as we very rarely do on it's not like the NBA trade deadline, but it's you got to start thinking about the future and start thinking about next year and the year after. And if that's the move that the Cowboys make, it might show that they have at least a bit of an understanding of where they are. But I think Jerry Jones is still kind of blinded by the American team, mantra that we're the Dallas Cowboys, and that means we're going to have a successful season. But in the 2024 NFL, it's not just about longevity and tenure. You have to have the results on the field, and we're just not seeing it from Dallas right
Oh, by the way, CeeDee Lamb's got a bum shoulder anyway, just to make things worse for Cowboy fans. And Dallas plays Philadelphia and Washington. Philadelphia, Washington the next couple weeks. Ugh.
now. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, sometimes change is made for a good thing. Sometimes change is made because for a bad thing, and I don't know. And the Indianapolis Colts switched from Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco, and the offense looked worse last night. I mean, the Vikings won 21-13, and be honest with you, not for turnovers, the game wouldn't have been that close.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I was very surprised about that. I mean, we've seen, Joe Flacco have success in that Colts offense this season, and I was really expecting them.
I can attest he killed our defense, but then again, we couldn't stop a wet noodle.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I was really expecting a good showing from the Colts yesterday. It's Anthony Richardson. Obviously, has not lived up to the expectations this season that I think a lot of people had for him. Because I mean, I know he missed a good chunk of the season last year, but he looked good in the games that he played last season, and I was excited to see him, kind of build off of that this year and come back from that injury. But it just didn't seem like, I don't know. I don't know if the Flacco magic is wearing off or what, but it definitely was. And you got to give credit to the Minnesota defense, Minnesota Vikings defense. They've got some absolute playmakers on that defensive side of the ball, and Brian Flores is a heck of a defensive coordinator. So it's not an easy defense to attack, and who knows, maybe that was one of the biggest struggles for Flacco yesterday, but it was definitely disappointing to see a lackluster performance, after I think everyone had expectations of him to be kind of, at least a step and a half above Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, and I mean, the Colts didn't have I mean, Indianapolis touchdown came when I think it was Grover Stewart who strip sacked Sam Darnold, and then Indianapolis scored the touchdown, a fumble. But I didn't really. I mean, we know Blind Flores. I mean, his stint in Miami for one reason or another. But defensively, that guy brings everything. It could be a three man rush. It could be all out blitz. It'd be man to man. It'd be zone. and it looked like Flacco was step slowing everything last night.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, really, just kind of looking through some of the biggest points in that game that really stand out to me. You look at the possession battle. I mean, the Colts had the ball for 23 minutes. The Vikings had it for 37 minutes.
And by the way, which team is last in the NFL in time of possession this year?
Uh, one of these two teams, I guess. I
The
don't know.
Colts. The Colts.
Well, it proved it even further yesterday. Just kind of going on top of that, they doubled the penalties that the Minnesota Vikings had. Penalties will kill you as a Miami Dolphins fan. I can attest to that. And the other big thing that stands out to me is that 3-11 on third downs. I mean, if you can't get the sticks moved on those money downs, 3 for 11, you're just giving the ball back to a team who is going to continue to run clock against you. And it's a lot harder to score when you don't have the ball, unless you're obviously getting pick sixes and things like that. But you got to have the ball to be able to score. And with that time of possession, not having that bad of a day on third downs, it's really hard to win football games like that.
Yeah, and I was surprised Josh Downs didn't play more yesterday because with Pittman's injury, Downs is Indianapolis' best receiver, but yet I didn't really see Downs get involved like I thought he would.
Yeah, I mean, he had 6 catches, 60 yards. Expected. He was. I'll tell you what. Through my betting circles and even through my fantasy football circles, everyone had Josh Downs expecting him to have a big game yesterday. And I mean, 6 catches on 9 targets. It's a nice showing. It shows that he's involved in the offense, but he didn't really make a lot happen with that. I mean, 60 yards is a decent number, but as a leading receiver on your team, you're always expected to have, maybe, I mean, ideally double that. And one of them was a 16-yard reception anyway. So, I think he was getting the looks. He had the most targets on the team. So I think it shows that he is the most trusted guy in that receiver room as of the moment. I mean, look at Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, we've had Michael Pittman Jr. He was supposed to be the next big thing at wide receiver. He finished with 1 catch on four receptions. So I mean, it does show that Josh Downs is, it seems like they know he's, a great option, but it's just not as efficient as we need, the number one guy to be.
Yeah, I don't think that back injury's helped Pittman. He's gaming, he's toughing it out, but Pittman never looked like himself last night.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I don't care if Sam Darnold throws a pick or two, but that guy's got game, and maybe it shows you get away from New York and Carolina and actually around a coach who loves you. Different quarterback. I mean, we know Sam's a gunslinger. He'll make mistakes, but he can also make some big plays.
Yeah, no, and he's had a great season. It's been very impressive. I think it kind of seems like obviously Carolina seems to be the place for quarterbacks. As soon as you leave Carolina,
Or Cleveland,
yeah, or Cleveland, exactly, or both.
or New York.
Or yeah, exactly. But obviously, I think you have to attest for the fact that he is throwing to Justin Jefferson, and that will make any quarterback at least look a little bit better. But he has been very efficient this season. The 2 picks, like you said, you expect him to be slinging the ball. A couple interceptions here or there, it's not the end of the world. But 28 of 34 passing, 290 yards through the air. That's a fantastic day. And it's been very impressive to see Sam Darnold this season. And it's going to be very interesting next season with JJ McCarthy, recovering from injury and seeing, what that, situation or, what takes place in that situation, come next season. But, as far as this year goes, Sam Darnold, we didn't even know who was going to be the Vikings quarterback going into this year. And, he's definitely stepped up to the plate for sure.
I might be crazy. I think Sam Darnold might be the quarterback of the New York Football Giants next year.
It's not
unless the Giants get one of the quarterbacks in the draft.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because obviously, I think everyone now knows that Daniel Jones is not the future of the New York Giants. I think one of the biggest contract mistakes in recent NFL history was the amount of money that the New York Giants paid Daniel Jones, and I think I think that experiment will be coming to an end very shortly. So, whether they go through the draft or try and bring someone in through free agency, I think Sam Darnold could be a great fit for that offense. But like you said, they should be having a pretty decent draft pick this year. Whether they want to go, the quarterback route, or maybe save a quarterback pick for the mid to later rounds and try and bring someone in like Sam Darnold to kind of help develop. Maybe not a top 10 quarterback, is yet to be seen. But I think it's a pretty spot on prediction. I could definitely see it happening.
By the way, if you needed a 3rd and 5, how many wide receivers are you taking over Justin Jefferson? How many?
None.
Answer.
None. If I needed a 3rd and 18, there's no receiver I'm taking over Justin Jefferson. I mean, it's even Tyreek Hill. It's great for a deep ball, but I mean, I've never seen a wide receiver other than maybe Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson who can go up for a contested pass, and especially with a game on the line or a 3rd down or one of those must-have situations. It's unbelievable what Justin Jefferson pulls out week in, week out.
I still remember that play against Buffalo 2 years ago. I'm like, how did he catch that freaking ball?
It was unbelievable. I mean, everyone's talking about this Garrett Wilson catch and the OBJ catch. Like, those were both phenomenal. If that was in the end zone, I think that might be, in the conversation for greatest catch of all time. And I think it still deserves to be, because time and place situation, plus just the absolute insanity of the contested catch there, jumping up one-handed. It's one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. I think it's severely underrated.
By the way, how good was Demarcus Robinson's one-hander in overtime yesterday?
It was nice. I will say, I don't think that's, it was a great catch, especially game winner in overtime, a walk-off. I think that kind of adds to it a little bit. But, I wouldn't say it's anything overly spectacular. I think the majority of NFL wide receiver, it was a one-handed catch in stride. It was a great catch. But like I said, the fact that it was a game winner, I think was juiced up a little bit. I mean, you want to talk about fantastic catches. I want to talk about Rico Dowdle, because that juggling acrobatic catch in the end zone, I think, was the catch of the week. And I don't even think it's up. I think that Rico Dowdle catch is better than the Robinson catch, and it might even be better than the Garrett Wilson catch, if you ask me. I think that was, just the composure.
I don't know how Rico Dowdle keeps that ball off.
I don't either. And it's not even like it like hit off the helmet of a defender or anything like that. Like, he pretty much played a tip drill to himself and was still able to keep his eyes on the ball, track it as he was falling to the ground, landing on his back, and still bring it in. I mean, that was oh my God, that was incredible.
Yeah, so Minnesota snaps this 2-game losing streak, 6-2. The problem is the NFC North's crazy.
Yeah, I think we all kind of expected that to be a very strong division this year, and it definitely hasn't disappointed. You don't have a single team under 500 in that division. That's telling you something already. But it's obviously, we know what the Detroit Lions are doing sitting at 7-1. I think everyone expected them to have a great year, and they are definitely proving those people right. But it's definitely you're gonna see some wild card teams out of the NFC North this season.
What game next? What game do you want to talk next?
Let's see. I think one of the biggest shocks to me this week, which I don't know if you talked about it before I joined in, but the Carolina Panthers beating the New Orleans Saints and thus cementing the end of the Dennis Allen era. I mean, obviously, you lose Chris Olave early in that game, and he's.
And by the way, enough with Chris Olave concussions, please. You're giving me a headache.
Yeah. Oh, geez, it might be too soon there, but obviously, when you lose one of the most talented players on your offense, it's gonna cause some headaches. No pun intended. On the second hit there, but they're still a loaded team. On the offensive side of the ball, I mean, Alvin Kamara ran for 155 yards. But still, it wasn't enough to get it done against the Carolina Panthers. And I think, a little birdie told me that you had predicted a Dennis Allen firing by Halloween, and you were 3 days short, 4 days short of having that prediction come true. But I'd say you're pretty close to spot on the nose there, Dylan.
By the way, did you see an oddity I've never seen in NFL history? The New Orleans Saints rushed for over 150 yards, outgained the Panthers by 396. Wait, hold on. 427 by over 150 yards and didn't commit a turnover and lost the game.
Yeah, it's just shocking. It really is. I don't even know how else you can describe it.
And I think Cam Jordan even tweeted out, the longtime Saints defensive line tweeted out he was PO'd. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if you,
Michael Thomas too. I know Michael Thomas was throwing out some tweets during that game, and
yeah, all that Derek Cole.
yeah, which that feud is something where I almost feel I feel bad for Derek Carr. I think Michael Thomas might be a little bit of a head case there, but to be honest, it's pretty shocking football that the Saints are playing, and it's I didn't expect them to be Super Bowl contenders this season, but to be sitting here at 2-7, it's just there's too much talent on that football team to be where they are. And I think firing Dennis Allen was a move that obviously you predicted, and I don't think anyone could be surprised at this time. Where they're standing now, especially after a loss to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers.
By the way, this is the tweet Cam Jordan tweeting out. We just lost to the Panthers. I love y'all. New Orleans truly had higher expectations and the best of hopes for us. Y'all deserve it.
Jeez. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dennis Allen might be a good defensive play call in the Sean Payton, but he's not a good head coach.
No.
And I think there's got to be changes for the Saints. I mean, they can't be $80 million over the cap every year. This team has kept coaches from the Sean Payton era. Right now, that's all. This team's got to rebuild. It's got to be. This team needs a quarterback and a fundamental change. I mean, why are they relying on a 59-year-old running back?
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's like you said, there's fundamental issues in the New Orleans Saints franchise that has to get turned around. I think starting over at head coach is definitely going to be step number one, and it's going to be. I think you really need a rebuild. Alvin Kamara has been a fantastic contributor to that New Orleans Saints team, but at this point, it's like, what if you don't start genuinely, resetting this franchise? There's no other way to turn things around, in my opinion. There's too many issues from top to bottom, and there's too much talent on that team for them to not have any sort of success. It's a shame, unfortunately, because I've been an Alvin Kamara fan. I like Chris Olave. I think there's a lot of pieces on that team that that should be able to beat teams like the Carolina Panthers. It's just, I think head coach was the first step that they've kind of checked off, and the biggest thing after this is going to be finding the guy to bring in to really turn that culture around, because it really seems like there's a culture issue. You see their former players tweeting at them. I mean, that's not the kind of thing you want to see from your alumni, and I think a culture change is going to be the biggest thing to really be able to start making fundamental changes in that locker room and in that franchise, and then getting some pieces that you're missing on both sides of the football to really start putting a better product on the field.
Oh, by the way, you want news? How about the 49ers have just activated Christian McCaffrey off injured reserve.
Yep. He will be practicing. I think today he's back practicing. I've seen, And it looks like the CMC show might be starting next week, and boy, do I hope I'm in Guillotine to see him in action next week. I'll tell you that.
Otherwise, he might be on my team.
Yep, depending on how much you bid for him.
Well, don't I have the most money left?
I think you do. I think so. I'm not looking at it right now, but boy, there's a lot of breaking news coming out. CeeDee Lamb officially has a sprained AC joint.
Oh gosh, there goes my CD Lamb shares.
I mean, Adam Schefter says it's sore, but it's not considered serious, and he is expected to have a chance to play Sunday versus the Eagles. So,
Oh gosh, so he's going to play with Trey Lance now?
yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's not what you want to hear if you're a CD Lamb owner, but it could be worse. It seems like, and I think you know, maybe he shouldn't be playing next week, especially, with the backup quarterback situation. Maybe you should let yourself allow to heal a little bit more, but I'm sure he's going to want to be out there against the division rival Philadelphia Eagles team anyway. So we'll just have to kind of monitor his practice logs, see what he can get in, if he can get a couple limited practices in, and maybe, hopefully for Cowboys fans and CD Lamb fantasy owners, maybe see a full practice by the end of the week.
Yeah, and then they get boat race by the Eagles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you imagine a game that everyone thought would have seen AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb could now see passes caught by Jahan Dodson and Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, definitely not the spotlight showdown that we expected looking at schedule release.
Oh yeah, and Romo and Nance are doing the game. I think.
Hmm.
You know what I'm thinking about that?
Bring Romo down
Whoop
to the booth and have him throw on a jersey.
whoop whoop whoop.
that works too.
Yeah. So what's with all the ejections yesterday? Brian Branch ejected. Puka Nakua ejected. I mean, I don't know if you saw the plays live. Excuse me. I didn't think either one of them should have been ejected, but that's just me.
I agree. I mean, I can speak on the Puka one. I actually wasn't able to catch the other one, but first of all, it was a retaliation, which I think it's been made pretty clear in the NFL that the second guy always gets caught and never retaliate. But he did get shoved first, and honestly, calling that a punch is a very loose form of the word. It was more of a slap to the helmet, in my opinion, at least from what I saw. It didn't look like he was really trying to cause too much harm. It was more of a get off of me and stop shoving me type reaction, in my opinion. I think that was a weak ejection, and unfortunately, it might even cost me my guillotine because I did start him in my flex, even with the injury concerns. So, it's not was definitely not helpful to my guillotine campaign, but I'm pretty surprised about that ejection to say the least. And I don't know if I'm sure if there's a fine, we might see an appeal because I think that was a little bit of a overreaction from the referees there.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Brian Branch was. I didn't even think it was a penalty in the Detroit Green Bay game, but not only was it a penalty, it was an ejection. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed like the officials were handing out ejections more like candy canes.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing, I actually just saw a clip of the Brian Branch one. I mean, the NFL has been preaching player safety, especially when it comes to concussions. And, you can't spear with the top of your helmet. Everyone knows that. You can't lead with your head. He was already, wrapped up with another defensive back around him. He was coming in as the second guy, but if you ask me, that didn't look too far off from the Jordan Poyer hit, that from Miami against Buffalo, and Jordan Poyer didn't get ejected. And I think that's the big thing that NFL fans have been kind of preaching to Roger Goodell that we're not seeing is the consistency. I mean, Jordan Poyer, had a very looking play to that Brian Branch, and Brian Branch gets ejected, Jordan Poyer doesn't. Puka Nacua, slaps the helmet. I see that almost every week in the NFL with the interceptions. And I think that's one of the biggest, frustrations from NFL fans is, sure, if you're going to make the call, make the call, but you can't be making the call in this situation and not in this situation. You can't be making the call for this team, not this team. Like consistency is the biggest thing in the game that I think NFL fans are frustrated about. And, I talk about NFL fans. I mean, just think about the players. How are you expected to, especially as a defensive back or a defensive player, how are you expected to, be able to know how to hit a guy if you get called on one play and you don't get called on the next? So it's just the consistency, or I should say, lack of consistency is definitely the biggest frustration for
Maybe one of the most dominant performances yesterday was Detroit going on the road. Finally, the line. Everyone say Jared Goff and the Lions can't play outdoors on grass. Well, they
me.
did just fine yesterday in rainy Lambeau Field,
Yeah,
beating the Packers 24-14. And to be honest with you, I think Detroit's the best team in the league. I think Detroit's coaching, particularly since early in the year, has been on point. Detroit's aggressive, but not overly aggressive. I mean, that fourth down call, Jared Goff finding Amon Ra in the end zone. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that was the biggest knack, or the biggest hit on the Lions last season is Dan Campbell's going for it on fourth down just for fun. Like it was just. I think it got to be a little too aggressive at points last season. And it does seem like he's learned some things. Obviously, they they lost at the end. They lost their season last season on some of those decisions. So I think Dan Campbell has kind of reined it back a little bit, but still stuck to his philosophy. And I'll tell you what, the Detroit Lions are one of the most exciting teams to watch in the NFL.
Yeah, and speaking of Green Bay, Jordan Love, despite this being his 50th, only his second full year as starter, still makes mistakes. I mean, to me, Love is a little more like Fall than Rodgers. I mean, that pick six just you can't have that throw. Can't
Yeah.
have that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, we know he was banged up going into the game, but at the end of the day, you're out there, and if you're out there, like you might have an injury that you're playing through, but your mental's got to be tough. And like you said, making a throw like that when especially in that situation, it's just not something as the starting quarterback you can allow to happen because yeah, you might be playing through an injury and you might be playing through some pain, but you still got to be smart, and you might even have to. Probably have to be even more smart and really have that mental side of things down even more pat if you're playing with some physical injuries. And it's things that I think a lot of people think of Jordan Love as a young quarterback, but like you said, he's been in the league for a while, and some of these mistakes that we're seeing, it gets to a point where it's like, yes, I mean, I know that you are a very talented quarterback. We've seen the peak of maybe not the peak, maybe the peak, who knows? But we've seen Jordan Love playing great football. But it's plays like that and games like that where it's like, especially if you're a Green Bay Packers fan. I mean, they've had strong quarterbacks for it seems like, I know it's been my entire life. And Packers fans are loyal, but you got to be able to be able to make those plays when you need them and not make the bad plays when you really don't need them, especially against one of the NFC powerhouses. I mean, who knows, that game could have made the difference between tiebreaker at the end of the season depending on how things play out. So it's we've seen some really good from Jordan Love, but it's the bad from Jordan Love that obviously he needs to reel in a little bit.
And by the way, how well has Jared Goff played the last few weeks? I mean, very few, if any, incompletions.
Yeah, only 4 in the day yesterday, and it's just efficient football. Obviously with such a good run game that they have, it kind of makes it a little bit easier on your quarterback when you've got 2 great elite running backs in your backfield. But he's we haven't seen a whole lot from Sam Laporta this season. I mean, Amon-Ra's been playing well at times. He's been a little bit more inconsistent than I think we expect, but we're still seeing that consistency from Jared Goff, and no matter who's stepping up to catch the ball.
And now Detroit goes into another interesting game against the Texans this Sunday night.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I can't wait for that.
All right.
Nico Collins was still playing, but
I think Nico will be back.
Is that? I couldn't remember if this was his fourth game or not.
I think Nico will be back.
All right. Well, I hope so, because if he is, man, that's going to be electric. Yeah, that's a can't miss game if Nico Collins is back for that one. Obviously, Stephon Diggs won't be as done for the year. But
you pick the next game.
Second. Sorry. Let's go with. How about? I think we've kind of touched on a lot of the good ones. I mean, I'll just go here. I mean, Miami Dolphins sure put up a fight against Buffalo. It was a bit of a disappointing end to that game. I think Miami was really in a place to win that football game. The Jordan Poyer play that I kind of talked about earlier really, was kind of the nail in the coffin, unfortunately. But, I'll tell you what, when Tyler Bass lined up to kick that 61-yard field goal after missing an extra point and dinking the previous one in off the uprights, I didn't think there stood a chance for him to make that field goal. And,
I thought Buffalo would have punted. I actually thought Buffalo might have punted.
Yeah, I had a feeling that they were they were going for the field goal, but I really didn't expect them to make it. But I do want to say, props to Tua yesterday. It was a great bounce back game. That loss was 100% not on Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, threw 3 incompletions on the day, 25-28, 231 yards, and really didn't get a whole lot from the stars. I mean, he had the 30-yard pass to Tyreek, which made up a chunk of his yards, but Jalen Waddle didn't have much of a contribution. Devon Achane's a budding superstar, man. I mean, the kid.
Wait a minute, Jalen Waddle caught a game-time touchdown for your team yesterday.
I know, but that was pretty much the only. He had 2 plays in that game. He had the touchdown, and he had the play after he came back and got hurt. But he only had 2 catches on the day.
4 negative yards.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, man, Devon Achane, I'm telling you, he might be a top 5 pick in fantasy football next season. The guy is putting up wide receiver numbers and elite running back numbers. It's like you can have an elite wide receiver and an elite running back taking up 1 fantasy football roster spot. It's just the ability that he has out of the backfield is something that is gold for fantasy football. It's great for the Miami Dolphins, and if it wasn't for a couple stupid penalties, I think the Dolphins could have won that football game yesterday. Obviously, props to Josh Allen. He's, the guy knows how to get it done, when it counts. And, he drove right down the field and gave them a chance to win the game. And, that's exactly what they did. But it was definitely a closer game than I think a lot of people, pretty much everyone, expected.
And by the way, speaking of close defeats, mention my team. Eagles beat us 28-23, but I'm not going to talk Jags. What is Nick Sirianni doing still coaching the Eagles? I mean, going for a 4th down, not kicking field goals, not kicking extra points. I mean, at least the Eagles. Let me see. Wait, hold on. Let me check the scores. At least the Eagles finally scored in the first quarter this year. But why? I mean, after the Eagles went up 16-0, they went for 2. I mean, I don't know about you. If you're up 16-0, what is your recommended play call?
It's got to be an extra point. I mean, that makes it a 3-position game. It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, and yet they went for 2 because the Jags got a penalty and didn't get it.
I just don't understand that. Like, missing, like going for two and missing that is the worst case scenario there. You keep it a two possession game. You just go out of there with your 1 point. That way, you need three scores to be able to beat you. It just doesn't make any sense, man. Like I've never seen. I totally agree with you on Nick Sirianni. I was almost expecting the Eagles to fire him last season. They're still sitting at 6-2, and I still somehow feel like that he should get fired. It's just I do not understand what goes through that man's head, man, and he's so arrogant.
I
Ugh.
mean, yesterday the Eagles put up 447 yards of offense, doubled up the Jags in total yards with 9 of 17 on third down. The Eagles won the turnover margin 3-1, nearly doubled the Jags' time possession, and yet it was a 5-point game with the Jags driving to try and win it. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the heck is going on?
That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I will say though, the best, maybe the greatest NFL play I've ever seen. And I've been watching football for 28 years, but that Saquon Barkley reverse hurdle was probably the most impressive thing I've ever seen on the football field. I don't think I've ever seen anything cooler or just insane than Saquon Barkley reverse hurdling a defender. Like no one even thought that could be possible until he pulled that off. It's like when Tony Hawk was inventing skate tricks, and
Yes, yes, MSU Detroit fan, the Lions do keep on winning.
there you
And
go.
by the way, one of us figured out how to get Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley on his guillotine team.
Yeah, that was a very good decision, sir. I will say I wasn't going after quarterback when I had Lamar Jackson, but getting Saquon was a great pull.
I mean, it doesn't hurt when you've got the Eagle offense.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I
felt
have AJ Brown on there too, but unfortunately, he didn't help me much yesterday.
hurt again.
Yep. Yeah.
By the way, you can lead me into my you know what of the week. I've got
All
I have boneheaded play of the week and then rant of the week.
All right, Dylan. Well, it's the favorite segment of the NFL recap segment here. What do you got, Dylan? I want to hear your boneheaded play of the week and your rant of the week. What you got for me?
Well, my boneheaded play of the week takes us to Nashville, Tennessee, where the New England. By the way, do the Lions have a realistic chance of finishing 16-1 if they keep playing and get the pass rush figured out? I mean, can the Lions beat the Bills week 15 and then you've got to play at Chicago, at San Francisco 16-17? Plus, Jordan Love and the Packers get a date with you the Thursday after Thanksgiving, but Detroit could get the 1 seed, which means you don't have to worry about cold weather if that happens.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to really see records like that again. I mean, it's just at this point.
Unless the Chiefs somehow keep winning.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but I just think in today's NFL with all of these injuries, when teams have playoff situations locked up, it's sit pretty much all your starters, and I think I could very easily see the Vikings going into Detroit and winning that last game of the season if Detroit's not playing their starters. I think Minnesota's got a talented enough team, and they very well could be playing for the playoff positioning as well. So, I think the Detroit Lions have the ability to do it. I mean, if Buffalo plays against Detroit like they played against Miami yesterday, I think Detroit wins that football game. But winning 16 games in a NFL season is I think practically impossible these days.
Okay, back to my. I don't think 16-1, but 14-3, 13-4. Absolutely.
Absolutely, I think likely.
Back to my boneheaded play of the week. Take us to Nashville, where the New England Patriots and Tennessee Titans played a thriller yesterday. Last play of the game, or regulation, Drake May basically runs around for like an hour and a half and then throws a touchdown to Ramondre Stevenson. And yet the Patriots kicked the extra point. I'm like, why didn't New England go for 2 at that point? You have the momentum. The defense is deflated.
Yeah.
Why? Your quarterback's hot. He just led his team on a game tying or on a drive. Why not go for 2? You know, you've got Ramondre, Hunter Henry, your wide receiver. Why not run? You
Yeah.
have 2-point plays. I mean, let's
Yeah.
go for it. I'm not
No,
going to overtime against Tony Pollard.
yeah, I totally agree with you. And funny enough, I was thinking about it. A lot of Dolphins fans I saw were saying, why didn't the Dolphins go for 2? When they scored with that Jalen Waddle touchdown, and there was still a
Yeah,
minute and a half on the clock.
we had way too much time left.
Right. It's not going to change anything. Josh Allen was going to do exactly what he did, and the Dolphins lose by 2 instead of by 3. But in that situation, like you said, and I think the most important thing you said was that defense, was exhausted. They were chasing around. They were chasing them down the entire game. So yeah, I don't understand the play call at all. Why go into, especially where the Patriots are? It's you're not expected to win that many football games. You don't have the chance to win that many football games. Why not take your opportunity? You're not going to have a better chance at winning a football game than sitting at the 2-yard line.
That's why I'm not a head coach. That's why I'm not a head coach, because even if Ask Madden would have said kick the extra point, I would have said go for 2. I'm winning or losing right there. And if we
Exactly.
don't get it, I know what I'm going to say. Listen, I play to win games. I don't play for ties. And give me my red hot quarterback. I'm not
Yeah.
going overtime with Tony Pollard, Mason Rudolph.
No,
Oh
like you said, you play to win the game.
boy. And now my rant of the week. We mentioned NFC North. A lot of good things from Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota. But it was this very game 18 years ago where the late Dennis Green said the Bears are who we thought they were, and that's why we took the bleeping field. Now, if you want to crown them, crown their bleeps. Well, somebody might have to crown the Bears the kings of pathetic quarterback development, because Caleb Williams has forgotten how to play football. I mean, 29-9 in a game that didn't even feel that close. I mean, Caleb Williams forgotten how. I mean, Caleb Williams right now couldn't complete a pass if there were no defensive line in front of him. I mean, 22 of 41 for 180 for 217, no touchdowns. It was just a pathetic performance. Thank goodness for Rome Duzé. But this Bear team right now is treating Caleb Williams just like Andrew Luck with the Colts. They're going to end up wasting this quarterback back. I mean, the Bears somehow stupidly kept Matt Eberflus, and yet they didn't spend the money to get Cliff Kingsbury, his offensive coordinator, and from USC. Right now, I don't know about you, but Jane Daniels is a top 6 or 7 quarterback in the league. I mean, Terry McLaurin had finally got a quarterback. And
I
right
know.
now, Caleb Williams looks lost. The Bears don't know how to run a game. The defense doesn't know what the heck to do. I mean, I'm not saying Arizona's offense is the greatest show on turf. They ran the ball for 213 yards yesterday. Chicago ran the ball for 69 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got DJ Moore, Romaduse, and Keenan Allen. Give me a freaking break, Chicago. You
Yeah.
kept this buffoon of a head coach when you could have gotten one of these coordinators. Instead, Caleb Williams ended up on his butt, and then last play of the game, he ends up with an ankle injury. I mean, why is he even in the game when it's 29-9? I mean,
Yeah.
save him. Save him from just run the ball and go home. You already
Right.
lost anyway. It just doesn't make sense. I mean,
And it's not like they were playing against the Ravens or the
by the
Chiefs.
way, not all rookie quarterbacks will win. Bo Nix and the Broncos lost to the Ravens 41-10, but it's not because Bo Nix was bad. It's just that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry all freaks. I mean, I don't know about you, but the Ravens scared the living bejeepers out of me.
Yeah.
But Caleb Williams right now, yeah. The Bears have to get an offensive line coach. They've got to get Ben Johnson. They've got to get one of these coordinators. Otherwise, Caleb Williams is going to end up like Andrew Luck, or maybe end up like Trevor Lawrence is in Jacksonville now.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing to say the least. Like you said, Caleb Williams. I mean, he sacked 6 times. He just looks lost out there, and it's too good of a team. You mentioned the guys that they have on this offense. I mean, that receiving core for a rookie quarterback should be a dream. I mean, considering you're throwing at college wide receivers, and then you come in and have a wide receiving core like that. And yes, I know Rome Odunze's a rookie, but he was the leading receiver on the team yesterday, and we know what you have in DJ Moore, obviously, and Keenan Allen, of course. So it's just you have to have somewhat of lower expectations when you're looking with a rookie quarterback. But at the end of the day, when you are that highly touted as a rookie quarterback, you have to be showing us something, and it's just been disappointing. I extremely agree with your opinion about Ben Johnson. I think bringing in someone with that offensive mentality, who really can work on this development, is crucial to the Bears, because I mean, you don't want to give up on your first round quarterback this easily, but you got to be able to develop him. And I think that really stands out as the biggest part of your rant. There is that development is just not there, and it's a shame from what we've seen from the Bears and what we've seen from Caleb Williams. And as I said earlier, it's not like they're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they got the Arizona Cardinals putting up 29 points on them, and like you said, it probably could have been more. It's just they're lucky to be at 4-4, I think, and it's not what we expected to see out of Caleb Williams.
I mean, the Bears still don't have a 4,000-yard passer, and maybe after this year, maybe they get a new coach. But the Bears are cheap. They don't want to hire offensive-minded head coaches. They think of football like it's 1928. Give me a break. Give me a break. Come on, Bears. Go get yourself an offensive-minded coaches. Put on the big boy panties. Look what the Chargers did. They got Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert's playing the best football of his career. And you know what? The Chargers are going to make the playoffs. And if you're not careful, the Bears are not only going to be out of the playoffs, but you're going to lose your freaking quarterback to injuries.
Yeah. Well, what a rant from Dylan Schmittler, huh? You heard him, Bears.
Yeah, you want me to continue?
I mean, if you got more, go for it.
I mean, Kyler Murray didn't even throw the ball yesterday. He threw for, I don't have it in front of me. How many yards did Kyler Murray throw for?
I can tell you in 2 seconds. I just have it. 154 yards.
And there have been multiple games this year where Justin Herbert's thrown for like 150 whatever yards. And I bet you Kyler Murray is feeling nice. And I bet you Kyler Murray is not complaining, because the only stat that matters to a quarterback is whether you win the freaking game.
Exactly. He completed 13 passes for 154 yards, but you don't need to do much more than that when your running backs are running for 213.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you. I like it if my team's running for 200 yards. That means I'm not ending up on my butt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got Trey McBride running the football. He had a carry for 2 yards.
It'd be nice if we got a receiving touchdown for a couple of my teams, but that's okay.
Yeah. I know you've been hoping for that all season.
Yeah. Trying to think, who did the Cardinals? Oh, the Cardinals played the Jets next week. Oh gosh, the 4:00 window's an absolute joke. I mean, Tennessee, LA, Philly, Dallas, and then New York, Arizona.
We got another one. Oh god, we got the Munich game next week. Giants, Panthers. Oh jeez. How many people are waking up at 9:30 a.m. for Giants, Panthers next week?
I think they're waking up for the beer more than anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm
Although,
looking ahead too. Nice little Ravens Bengals Thursday night game.
oh gosh, I remember last year's Thursday night game. That's when Burrow and Andrews were hurt.
Yeah. Broncos Chiefs in the early slate. Steelers Commanders in the early slate.
Hmm.
Vikings Jags. Falcons Saints. Bucks Niners.
Oh, by the way, how about San Francisco coming off a bye, Bucks coming off playing Mahomes and the Chiefs on a short week?
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be quite an interesting one there for sure.
Give me San Francisco. All right, Alex, thanks for hopping on. Maybe your Dolphins will beat up the Rams next Monday night.
We'll see. But thanks for having me as always, Dylan. And of course,